market, how do you stand out and how do you do it authentically? So today I'm Monique. I'm here with my podcast and I'm sharing stories of real people, real stories, real businesses doing great things. And I've got the amazing team from Vital Electrical and Vital Solar. We've got Cam and Maryann. Welcome to the studio. Woo!
Kia ora.
I feel like we need a big audience, and I say this every time, but I feel like we do.
I feel like that I personally need it. No.
Yeah, you do need a big audience. Everything for you. I've been stalking you guys for a little while because it's my job, but also it's kind of creepy and I really enjoy that. And Cam, you keep sharing really cool kind of behind the scenes videos about your business. And for most people, they'd think electrical is kind of like, oh, it's a necessity, but you make it kind of interesting. What drives you to do what you do?
Well, electrical is a necessity. It's not really interesting. So what we're trying to do is what I'm trying to do anyway, is make it interesting for myself. And by going down that journey, I've learned that the sustainability side of it has been my biggest driver moving forward now. One of the things that we're sort of going through as a business is trying to take ourselves out of just being electricians and being more of an energy consultant as we're moving towards that electrical side. Electrical side.
Yeah.
As we're electrifying New Zealand away from gas and resources like that, we see that we've got a really key role in that moving forward for our general clients as well as clients moving forward on the solar side of things.
Oh, that's so good. You sound super well prepared, by the way. That was really good. But part of that is, of course, what you bring to the business as well, Maryann, with the solar side of the business. And solar's quite a hype business right now because everybody's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get my solar charger, put it on the dashboard of my car so I can power my, my iPhone and stuff. But it's a really big business, right?
It's definitely something that people are interested in. So we're in a very big educational phase because when people think about solar, they think of maybe other experiences that may not be the same as what is being offered currently in the market now, which is the energy side of things. Traditionally, like you're saying, the solar lights or the solar little thing that kind of gimmicky back in the day. So when they want to come into powering their home and from a price point of view, they're like, what? I didn't expect it to be like that because it was always so maybe cheap and cheerful. Whereas the whole solar energy is actually quite serious.
Yeah, and quite cost saving.
Well, yes, absolutely. There is that kind of future proofing side of things because, you're essentially being part of your own energy company yourself. Your home and your property is... You are your own energy. So you'll have the grid, you'll have Vector, you'll have a little bit of who you're doing with like a Meridian or a Mercury, and then your third person will be yourself.
Oh, I love that because I'm all about the energy you bring into a room.
Yeah.
So maybe one day I can supercharge myself and maybe power my entire house. But let's get back to you guys because it's not all about me. I want to find out, Cam, how did you get into this? Because like you've had quite the interesting career, including, and I'm going to out you right now, being in a boy band.
Yeah.
How did all of this happen, mate?
How did this happen?
What's the story?
What is the story? It all started, I guess, as a young kid with no direction. Really?
Yeah. Not one direction, no direction.
Yeah, no direction. That's the other band.
The whole thing really started as, being young. I was interested in the electrical side of things for other reasons. I sort of pitched it when I didn't have much to do from a family friend as a career path that we might be able to take that could link me into people within the music industry actually. At the time it was, hey, maybe you could be a guitar tech or maybe you could do this sort of stuff and you can make a career out of this. And realistically in New Zealand, that's not going to pay your bills.
Try being an actor. Try being an actor. What do you do when you're an actor? You work in hospo or retail.
Exactly. And I did the same thing. Moving to Australia, I was still trying to keep my career going on the electrical front. That didn't really work out too well, or because I was constantly trying to tour and stuff like that. So you end up working those sort of jobs, as you say. Then as I sort of got, not older, but got an opportunity to come back here, we're sort of wrapping up things in one band. And I went, okay, well, it's probably my opportunity to come home. It would have been about 2008. Obviously, GFC hit.
Oh, yeah.
Work went back to Australia, another electrical job over there, came back, eventually got into the electrical side. And I always had that sort of interest in, when I was in Australia around 2012, it would have been, one of the big things that I saw was the solar industry was sort of starting to really kind of bubble.
Yeah.
And I came back to New Zealand in 2013 and there's nothing here about it. No one had any idea. in Australia it's this big thing, and it's like,
yeah, but let's be honest, New Zealand does. I love New Zealand. It's great. It's a great home, but we are a little slow at adopting new things.
We
But
are.
that's okay. That's okay.
Which is crazy.
We consider.
We can be early
But
adopters in some things, though,
which
right?
is crazy to me, and I use the FPOS thing as such a good example.
Because first country in
Guinea
the
pig.
world.
We were the guinea pigs.
We were.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we're such a country of a certain population size that should be used as a trial run, as bad as it sounds. We should be, and we should be open to it. I had a meeting the other night with someone who's quite high up in the government in the islands, and they were saying that's how they approach their things now. They're quite progressive in their energy storage. They're quite progressive in anything like that because they're getting offered a lot from overseas, and they're able to take that on board and utilize that sort of early adapter stage to be able to leverage
test it.
themselves and test it. And it's getting them up quite a lot. Whereas in New Zealand, we're quite worried about that side of things, of us being in that sort of category, which is quite weird. We're kind of like we're not quite the big brother, we're not quite the little one. We are the middle kid between a lot now.
So we're like the Gen Xers, kind of, you know, the lost generation.
Yeah, 100%.
All these people arriving at the door.
And I think one of the things that goes with that is that it's really hard to sort of now punch through and sort of encourage people to do the right thing. Also, I feel that with the energy side of things here, people are very scared of past experience. One of the things that I think happens over here a lot is we're not very outgoing with how we feel about things. And that goes through the energy market. It goes through everything we're doing as early adopters. We never want to be the big person crowing. And I feel
It's such a Kiwi thing, eh?
Yeah, it
such
is.
a Kiwi
and
thing.
I feel like we always have such a good opportunity. And I feel with the whole solar industry, for instance, and like I know we've got the electrical business as well, but the big thing for me is the solar side because of where we're taking the business. But we always sort of look at it and go, actually, at the moment, you've got such an opportunity to be an early adapter. And EV vehicles are a big thing. New Zealand versus Australia in terms of EV, we've got such a higher uptake of it. You'd think that would correlate with our solar adaptation or our energy management adaptation, yet it hasn't. And I think part of it comes down to, once again, the EVs are proven overseas. People are still worried. In Auckland in particular, we think about things like, oh, it's cloudy. Oh, it's not much sun. So, well, solar doesn't work like that. Solar works on UV.
Absolutely.
It doesn't work on sun.
It's not sun.
It works on sun. Obviously, sun helps, but it's UV. If it's light outside, we can produce electricity. And I think, that whole early adaptation thing is really hard to get through. And we're in that stage of the industry now. And I've come completely off topic here.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. There is no topic other than real stories, real people. That's my agenda.
To go back to where I got to before doing all this was that I saw the solar thing in Australia, thought it was going to be a big thing over here. Not that I wanted to do it for money. I thought it was a really cool idea. And I always say, as you would have seen at my presentation the other day, was that the dream that I have for all of our clients is that they'll have a general house or business, they'll have their solar panels on their roof, they'll have an EV charger, which is charging from their solar, they'll have their electric hot water system that they would have changed over from gas, hopefully. They'll have electric cooking, they'll have electric everything, and pretty much they'll be creating their own power within their home. So
I love that.
The whole individual thing is a very Kiwi thing.
Absolutely.
And yet we haven't quite
got there
yet.
When you're talking about that, all I could think of was the Lion King and the Circle of Life, because it's effectively kind of what you're doing, eh?
It is.
It's, you're utilising the sun potentially to charge your own house, to charge your own life. I think it's quite phenomenal.
Yeah.
Why is that a passion?
I think the whole thing, like, I'm not a greenie at heart.
Maybe you are.
I think I am, more than I realise. But I get sort of at that point where I'm like, if we can encourage everybody to do their little bit, especially people that are in a position to do their little bit, that's going to stem through to the others. And one of the key things that I've realised in the last sort of year was that every little thing we do impacts a customer. If a customer takes on a solar system for us or, buys an EV charger from the electrical side of the business or something like that, all those things lead into, one big picture. They are all interlinked somehow. So I think the real passion for me comes from one of the stats that we saw the other day. And once again, this is really recent, so it's not my passion, but one thing that sort of reiterates why we do what we do is that today you're looking at things on the news such as like oil prices are going through the roof.
Massive.
You've got this going through the roof. Energy bills, your power's going to go double in the next 5 years, which
things
is a
like
huge...
the tax that may be applied to petrol here, so that we've got better infrastructure.
Yep.
You know, that's going to affect everything.
So there's all that sort of things coming into play now. And as a country like New Zealand, so much of our infrastructure is built off that sort of things. But so much of our costs that come into the country are from freight. They're from, like, at the moment, every vehicle that's driving around in the streets is from fuel that we've imported from overseas.
Yeah, that's right.
So if we can somehow get rid of that, that'll bring down our prices across the board, which will, in general, even if you're not an EV adapter, will hopefully those cost savings will come onto the end line consumer. For someone like
for you sitting in the seat that I'm in, where I'm and we highlighted this before, my cougar life, where I'm old. Not that I'm trying to hit on you because it would be weird, but sitting here at this stage of my life, why is it so important to you? You're only in your 30s.
Yeah.
Why is that important to you?
Why is it important to me? Because I talk to guys now that have kids and stuff like that, and they highlighted a really key factor that when their kids are 20, they're not going to own a vehicle with a normal engine, that we know. And that's such a big thing. How are we going to correctly implement that into the world? Our grid that's in Auckland at the moment, current Auckland, I talk about Auckland all the time, but New Zealand in general is not going to be able to handle what's coming. Because there's been such an underinvestment in it for so long.
Yeah.
But what we should be looking at doing is, why not look at doing it ourselves? If you're looking at like a solar system, which is very misleading. But if you look at a solar panel system for your property and you're looking at the current payback, and one of my pet hates in the industry is people calculate everything on payback. We can manipulate that so easily. I can turn around and tell you now that if we were to say, hey, power bill is going to rise in 5 years, double, and we say, okay, so that's a 50% increase in power per year for the next 5 years. My maths is probably well off there, so
it's okay. But it's everybody does it.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's
Everybody
the thing. People can manipulate it to what they want it to look for the consumer because it's like we don't know.
Yeah.
So you have some companies that are quite conservative. We're very conservative. We're only like the 3%, and so our payback will look between the 8 and 10 years. But if someone's going to do it, we reckon the price is going to be double. That looks like a 3 to 4 payback. So when you're looking at quotes, it's like, okay, I choose that one because of the payback. But it's only as good as you, the consumer, and what has happened in this pretend kind of environment.
Right.
So that's the hard thing in our industry. It's that payback of people go, I want my money back. But
there's a lot going on. But when it comes down to that sort of the original question about, once again, I'll be very good at it because it's something I am passionate about. So I'm going to keep
keep going.
But one of the things that we sort of always come back to is that vision of having everybody being self-sustainable. I love the fact that when we get certain clients, certain areas like Titirangi and stuff like that, when they have a power outage, they know that they can still charge their car. They know they can still, operate their house. Maybe not charge their car, but they can still operate their basic appliances. They can still work from home. They can still have internet running. And that to me is sort of a really good sort of side thing that comes with the pushing of what our passion is, which my passion is, once again, encouraging everybody to generate their own power, work within their own network, take load off the grid, and effectively trying to encourage people not to be selfish. And when you're going for solar, one of the things is obviously it benefits you and yourself, but it's also benefiting someone down the line. And that comes into that fact that I saw the other week. We had a really good article come out from Rewiring Aotearoa. And one of the factors that they stated was what I was saying before about the fossil fuels, how much of it is imported into the country. Yeah. And if we could riddle of that and go pretty much full electric and generate our own electric, you could see such a big savings across the board in freight and that. So that then goes down to the lower
it's a trickle down effect.
That's more of a trickle down effect than, to me, that's more of a trickle down effect than wages. When we're sort of like, we have multiple governments coming and we're like, wages, we'll just keep increasing wages. But we've seen, as we've been doing that, inflation keeps growing.
100%.
But why don't we tackle the thing that's potentially causing things to go up in price? Freight, transport, energy. It goes deeper than that.
Wow. And that's at the heart of your company and why you created this.
Essentially, that's where it's gone. And it was one of those things when I created it, I didn't really know that that's where it was going. It was more of an energy self-sufficiency thing. And now lately you start looking at all those side of things and you're like, actually, this is going deeper than what I never knew.
So do you think through setting up this company, have you found yourself through this company?
That's a good question. Yes, a little bit. In terms of that, I think at the forefront of our companies, we like helping people at the most we can do. But it's also educational. And when we brought, say, Maryann on board, one of the big things was that I don't want to be a transactional company.
Yeah.
And we see that so many times with other people within the industry. Electrical as well. Like I've got people that are very successful that are around me that run similar businesses. But it's very transactional. It's very in and out. We don't care afterwards, or we don't really care what we're selling you as long as we're benefiting. And it's that kit set type scenario. And you see it with building companies, you see it with everyone. But I don't like to say we're bespoke, and I can't stand that word because bespoke is...
It became very passé. Everybody was using it, right?
Yeah. And so, but what I like to say is like, hey, we can give you a system the same as someone who's offering it for this. But what you're going to get is something that actually is ethical. It's something we care about, and you know that forever that will look after you. Some way, somehow, we'll still look after you.
Oh, I love that. And Maryann, I want to bring you into the mix on this part of the conversation because I've known you for several years now.
I know.
Probably 10 years, maybe longer. And what I know about you, actually probably...
like 20.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe 20
so.
from the old karaoke scene back in the day.
Yeah.
And you're a great singer, by the way. But what I know about you is that, and it kind of aligns with what you're talking about, Cam, is the importance of those relationships.
Yeah.
So yes, education is a big part of what you do, especially around the energy space. But I know you've come from some really big businesses and you were in relationship management. And I won't mention the name of those big businesses, but I know what they were. And now you're in the solar space, and that's effectively what you're bringing is, like I think of solar and I think, okay, panels for my house. It is quite a transactional product, but you're bringing so much more. So what drives you?
Well, it's probably twofold, actually. It's small business. I really, coming from corporate, coming into small business, I just feel that that's what I'm here to do and to help. I helped a friend before. I actually met Cam through a business network group. I'm allowed to say BNI.
You're allowed to say shout out to BNI.
Shout out to BNI.
Auckland, we love you.
We were, and so when Cam reached out and said, I'd like help here, I said, hell yeah, I'm going to help you because I believe in him. I believe in his vision. I actually, back in the day at 18, used to sell solar, which
shut the front door.
Yeah, but that was really when it was all very off grid. So you would go down to field days and create these systems and that. So I did that for 2 years, and then I got into my corporate life after doing that as a little admin girl. And so I was it's kind of like a little bit full circle.
Yeah, we were talking about that before today's chat.
Yeah, is going, okay, this is cool. And I could see Cam's passion, but I could see that, right, this is something that it's a customer experience. Like Cam's vision is that we're your energy partners for life. So for that, it's a customer experience, and that's my jam.
That is your wheelhouse.
That's my jam. Like when people say I'm a salesperson, no, I'm not a salesperson.
No.
I just want to make sure that they get all their information and I help them. And if they want to buy off us, then that's like...
You'd like to help them do that.
Then yay. And also if they choose someone else, at least I've done what I've helped them in educating them. And if they've had to do what they do, then that's all good. But at least I can go, job done. They've not just gone, oh, it's all about the price. They can be like, oh, okay, I understand this, understand that. And also we are a premium product. My past life has been premium, so I would never work for anything that wasn't premium. And I'm all good with that. That people can walk away because they go, hey, it's not my jam.
And as I'm sitting here listening to this and having known you, of course, I know you are amazing and vibrant and you're a natural connector and stuff like that. And coming across this business, this is a different business from the businesses you've worked with before. So why Cam and why this business?
Because he was so passionate. He was so passionate about where he wanted his direction. Also, he had a great network of people to improve his business side of things. He wasn't just a one man with a van kind of gig. He had people that he's going, I've got business coaches, I've got marketing people. So he was serious about it. And so that's where I kind of go, yes, you just need that little bit of customer service kind of structure. Yeah. I call him
it's a wrangling.
Beautiful mind. I call him like the beautiful mind. Beautiful mind with like vision. I'm like, okay, right. This is what you want. Boom. Okay, let's get this done. Check. Because I do believe in it.
I like to think of myself as Matt Damon.
Okay.
But not Matt Damon. Matt Damon.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Matt Damon on the chalkboard, smashing out
yeah.
sums that no one
Whatever
understands.
works, brother.
Yeah.
Whatever works. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And then, like, you guys, like, every time I see you guys together, it's like watching whānau.
Yeah, but we've tried to do it I try to do it with the actual business as well, though. Like, not just Maryann, but like our whole team.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have anybody that isn't really fit for what we are. And like, even if we grow to where we want or where I want to go,
Yeah.
I would imagine that we can still on a Friday afternoon sit down and have a group beers. I hope that, we can look after each other's family. And I there's a really good thing that came out the other day. I was actually listening to a podcast this morning of a guy in Australia who owns a really successful business. And he was saying how one of his employees was putting panels on his roof of his house, and he went and helped do the install. And he's got a team of 50. And I was like, to me, that's something that's quite unique. Like, you don't hear that a lot. And I was like, that shows that there's a connection there between all the guys going out. And that's sort of what you go, oh, actually. And thing is,
it's a culture. You have to have a culture.
And we have it here where it's like, we have it here. And what annoys us in the electrical industry and the solar industry is so sales based. It's not really like, there's so many companies out there that only will sell a product. They're guys that have never had an electrical job in their life, never been in the industry. They buy a franchise. They go out there and start selling panels. If you were to ask them why they're doing it, chances are
Money.
It's for money.
it's flavour of the week.
Yeah.
And we always have it when it's really funny with it when we have Australian distributors come over. And they always come over here to sort of scout the industry, and they come over here and they're very shocked very quickly at how little is going on here still.
That's right.
We're still in very early adapters. So I'm like, okay, well, and that's what we're seeing. Like, one of our main things that we're talking the other day, and we've started seeing a big influx in clients in the last month of people that have been calling us with problems, such as they've had parts installed in the last, even as little as like 2-3 years ago.
Wow.
Whoever's sold them the system or whoever's sold them the parts has gone.
The system has gone under.
And so now we're coming in. And that's where it's like the importance is of when Maryann was talking about, and I was talking about the buyback and manipulating numbers before. One of the big things that we see with that is it's just a value. But we're going to do a job next week, which is sort of like it's for a commercial client. Should have ever been scrimped on in terms of product. They scrimped. They've been promised a payback period of whatever amount of time. Their inverters failed on one part of the system, which is the main, like the core of the system. They might have saved $2,000. That inverter's been offline now for 4 months. When you're talking about a system
For a commercial business as well.
So that extra $2,000 to $3,000 would have given them peace of mind or rest of it. But instead, you've had someone go in and sell them something that is going to create more money for them. But the business is invested and gone. And we hear stories like that all the time. And to us, it gives the industry such a bad rap. And I always say solar is kind of like it is a bit snake oily at times over here. Like, it's very used car salesman. It's very real estate agent.
But it shouldn't be, because it's going to be the way we go.
It shouldn't be.
Are you shocked that people door knock for solar? Some people door knock.
Sorry, I just did that. Did you just see that face?
Door knock.
But if you've got like door knocking, it's so like door knocking. So I don't understand why you would door knock something like that. It's so many.
Look, I've seen a lot of people, because I do a lot of trade shows, and I've emceed a lot of trade shows, or I've had clients at trade shows. I get that they might be there to introduce people to it, even though it's been around for a long time. But door knocking?
Yeah. So it's a thing.
Wow, I thought it was real estate.
Think about cell
does
phones.
door knocking.
Well, think about cell phones in the 90s.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, okay.
That was door knocking. Then you went through the early 2000s when you had power companies door knocking. And I actually thought door knocking I thought it was made illegal.
Wow.
But apparently not.
No, it's not.
I don't know.
I get charities, and I know even
And
real
there's
estate.
a lot of religion set to it as well.
Religion's charity.
It's a good way to get a free lawnmower.
or a Kirby vacuum cleaner.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was not meant to do.
I just kind of go, and I just kind of go, oh, that's so, I don't know. That just takes the integrity away from me.
Totally. And
because you can sign up right there. So it's sort of encyclopedia kind of stuff.
No.
It's pressure.
I know,
on
right?
the end
Pressure
consumer.
selling.
And at the end of the day for us.
And are they pressuring through that shock factor of here's what you're missing out on and here's what you could save? What is their tactic?
And I think that, I don't know, but the biggest thing that we come across within the industry is it's such an early adapter thing still. And that sounds so surreal to me, given we try to compare ourselves to Australia a lot. And by no means we like Australia in the solar industry or in a lot of industries. But one thing the Australians have got a lot right in the solar industry, they've got a lot wrong. Unfortunately, but I'm going to say unfortunately, fortunately, we're in a position where we should be able to learn from that or what they've done wrong. Unfortunately, we're going down a direction the same way they did.
Oh.
And I was actually talking to someone we're part of it. So we're part of an industry group called SENS, Sustainable Energy Association of New Zealand. And I was talking to two people from them the other day, and I had a bit of a gripe about certain practices within the industry. I sort of said, this is so crucial right now. We've seen such influx, especially as the construction industry is slowly not dying because it won't die, but at the moment we all know it's going for a lull. So we're seeing a lot of electrical businesses starting to branch out and try other things.
Yeah.
The biggest problem we're seeing with that is something like solar is that it's now the flavor of the week for them to try have a crack at, which is fine. We want I want more people having to go at it because it's good for us. It's good for competition. It's good for stuff like that. It is good. It's going to drive our suppliers supply cheap pricing, which means that we can supply better product to our clients at a lower rate, which to me is a great thing. However, it also has something that can open up a can of worms.
Yeah, of course.
Of bad practice, bad customer service, bad everything. And I always say to Maryann, when Maryann first came on board, I always used to point out the solar hot water debacle. And years ago when I was an apprentice, so this is 20 years ago now, one of the big things that was huge around the West Auckland region was solar hot water because people would have power cuts all the time. They're like, oh, don't worry, we can heat your water through solar.
Yeah.
And people were paying like 10 to 12 grand for these systems that just didn't work because the technology wasn't there for it. And we have a customer that came on board who his wife was so terrified of putting panels on her roof because of that experience they had. And so we've sort of worked through those things now. And then
solar trauma.
Solar trauma. Oh my God.
They call it the solar coaster for a reason.
Yeah, it is a solar coaster.
So in Australia, the saying came from Australia, and the solar coaster it's up and down. We never know where the hell it's going. Everything changes so quickly.
Yeah, of course.
Manufacturers go like in Australia, we're seeing, and like even here, we've seen such big brands exit the market out of nowhere. So lately we've seen LG leave the solar industry altogether.
Wow.
Which is, to me, was like, oh, well, there's a reason for it. But one of our biggest solar suppliers / installers in New Zealand was LG exclusive. So now how do they honor that warranty?
Wow.
Then you've got...
but does that open the door to opportunity?
Totally. But that's where it comes down to, like, I always say from my side of it, and Maryann never knew about this stuff when she joined, and it was quite funny. I always say she's been with us for 2 years now, and I always go through a thing of, like, first year's an educational period, and then this is this, and then this is this.
Then you get into your flow.
Yeah, and I remember saying to her, I was like, one of the things that gripes me the most is the ethical solar, non-ethical solar side of things. And a lot of the products that come on board are non-ethical, and everybody, it's like being an early adapter of EVs myself. One of the biggest things we got was, how are your batteries made? How's this made? And that's one of the things that I took on board so heavily. I went, oh shit, I'm kind of doing the right thing. And it's like when we have an iPhone, or it's when we have anything. It's like most good technology comes from a little bit of bad. But however, if we can get some good out of it and push it away, and we have the knowledge to do that, why would we not do that?
I absolutely agree.
You know?
I absolutely agree.
And so there's an article in the New Zealand Herald the other day that kind of flunked me quite heavily and kind of pissed me off, was that solar is getting cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah.
And it's because there's a massive influx of things coming from China.
Yeah.
However, one of the things that I always point out, and I said to Maryann, I got out of our BNI the other morning, and I saw the article, and I went, oh, this fucks me off so much, part of my language.
Yeah.
But I turned around and I went, this really does piss me off. I said, there's a big article, which is really good. It's encouraging solar because it's getting cheaper. What they're not saying is why it's getting cheaper.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's
interesting.
that ethical side of things is the China production thing. And there's areas in China that produce really good stuff.
They do some great work.
And they monitor their ethics in terms of they don't have children making panels. They don't have people working.
And that's important.
There's certain regions, not the whole place.
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of why it's getting cheaper.
Yeah.
And so we've got to factor that in as well. And so with our business, one of the biggest things is
it's about being more aware, though, right?
It's the origin story.
Yeah.
The origin story. We are going to take a quick break because we're just about to wrap up. Are they here? Okay. And I know. Finally, Maryann, as somebody coming on board with your big background, your big corporate background, what would you tell people? What business tip or vision would you share with people about their business or something that you've learnt over your journey in corporate that you would consider is helpful to anybody launching a business, thinking about showing up in their business, all of that stuff? Because you show up all the time. What's the tip?
It is having a connection with your customers. And if you don't naturally have it, make sure you have somebody that does.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. And finally, a tip from you, Ken.
I was going to say, you know what is said about that? We had a conversation yesterday, was that like I've kind of positioned the business into having like multiple people that do things that I don't do well. And that sits so well with that. It's like, I know I'm not perfect with dealing with clients. I know I get irritated easily sometimes. So I've put people around me that can deal with that. Oh. And that's sort of how
you manage it.
Yeah,
I love that. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in. I have so enjoyed our chat today, and you guys are amazing. Vital Electrical and Vital Solar, Cam and Maryann, you guys are amazing. Yay!
Lava!
And thank you to you for listening or watching. If you're watching this on YouTube or whatever your platform you're watching on, you are amazing. Keep telling stories because stories matter. I'm Monique Bradley. Over and out. Peace out. Bye.